The football world is lying to you about these players. Their reputations are built on a mountain of hype and zero substance. What the media refuses to tell you about the number one name on this list will shock you to your core. You have to stick around until the end to discover the real truth behind the most overrated legend in history. Paul Pogba arrived on the scene with a profile sculpted by expectation. Tall, elegant, and powerful, he seemed destined to redefine the modern midfielder. His time at Juventus remains etched in memory not simply because of what he did, but because of what he symbolized. A midfielder with the audacity to try the impossible, to curl screamers from distance, to stride past opponents with balletic grace, to orchestrate midfield battles as if the ball obeyed his every intention. At Juventus, Paul Pogba shared the stage with Andrea Pirlo, Arturo Vidal, and Claudio Marchisio. Yet he stood out with flair that combined style and substance. In those years, he looked like destiny personified. But when Manchester United broke their transfer record to bring him back, everything that was promised seemed to dissolve in confusion. The English club bent over backwards to accommodate him, deploying him deeper, wider, and higher up the pitch, adjusting formations, sacrificing balance, all to unlock his brilliance. Instead, what followed was inconsistency, a moment of magic followed by weeks of anonymity, a glorious assist followed by costly lapses of discipline. Supporters clung to the idea that Pogba was being misused, that the managers or the teammates were the problem, that one day the true maestro would emerge and silence critics. But year after year, the same story repeated. Paul Pogba was dazzling on his day, yet those days came too rarely. Injuries, disputes, off-field distractions, and finally doping controversies at Juventus all eroded his reputation. Pogba the idea was a world champion. Pogba the reality was an enigma, and football was left with players celebrated for potential rather than sustained greatness. From that stage, we shift to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a figure whose career is less about what he won and more about how loudly he demanded the world remember him. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was never simply a striker. He was a character, a phenomenon, a self-proclaimed lion who turned interviews into theater and goals into acrobatics. He scored bicycle kicks that seemed to defy physics, volleys that belonged in cartoons, and backheel flicks that made crowds gasp. He towered above defenders with a body sculpted like a gladiator, yet he moved with the finesse of a dancer. And yet, for all his brilliance, the truth cannot be avoided. Zlatan Ibrahimovic never conquered the Champions League, the stage upon which immortality is forged. He wore the shirts of clubs that were destined to lift that trophy. Barcelona, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain. But when he departed, it was his former clubs that went on to achieve European glory without him. His domestic league titles, scattered across Italy, Spain, France, and the Netherlands, prove consistency. But when asked to recall a defining Champions League knockout moment with Zlatan at its heart, the memory falters. His aura, his unforgettable arrogance, and his quotable one-liners often eclipse his footballing record. Supporters speak of him in the same breath as Thierry Henry or Ronaldo, yet the comparison falters when weighed against their European Knights of Destiny. Zlatan's cult status rests as much on his alpha male bravado as on his outrageous goals, a triumph of personality in a sport where numbers are usually king. If Zlatan is remembered for charisma, Karim Benzema offers a different story, one of evolution, survival, and finally overexposure. Karim Benzema's career at Real Madrid stretched across eras, for being the quiet accomplice of Cristiano Ronaldo. When Ronaldo departed, Benzema seized the crown. His 2021-2022 season stands as one of the greatest ever witnessed, carrying Real Madrid through improbable Champions League comebacks against Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, and Manchester City, culminating in Ballon d'Or recognition. But beneath that peak lies a truth fans are reluctant to revisit. For years, Benzema was criticized for inconsistency, for failing to deliver the ruthless edge expected of a striker in the white of Madrid. He was a foil for Ronaldo, a facilitator rather than equal. Fans clamored for his replacement, bemoaned his missed chances, and questioned his big game temperament. Then, one miraculous season transformed his image into that of a generational striker. Yet, when compared across careers, Luis Suarez towers above him. Suarez matched Messi and Ronaldo's numbers in a way Benzema never did. Even when playing alongside Lionel Messi and Neymar in Barcelona's fabled trident, Benzema, in contrast, became the dutiful servant beside Cristiano Ronaldo. To suggest that he eclipses Suarez is to let recency bias rewrite history. His Ballon d'Or campaign was sensational, but it cannot erase the years of being merely adequate. Karim Benzema is rightly a legend, but the notion that he reigns supreme over all strikers of his generation stretches reality beyond its limits. The conversation cannot pass without touching on Mesut Ozil, a player who divided opinion like few others. For some, Mesut Ozil was artistry incarnate. Vision unparalleled, passes that bent the dimensions of possibility, a calmness that made chaos freeze. At Real Madrid, alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, he delivered assists with machine-like regularity, each through ball carving defenses like a scalpel. At Arsenal, he became the talisman of Arsene Wenger's later years, the record signing meant to return glory. His peak seasons in North London offered glimpses of genius, games where he glided across the pitch, dictating tempo, stitching together attacks with silk. Yet the criticism that shadowed him was equally sharp. Mesut Ozil disappeared in big games, often against the fiercest opponents, leaving fans frustrated at his lack of intensity. He seemed allergic to physical duels, unwilling to sprint back or fight for second balls. His languid style, when Arsenal were winning, looked elegant. When they were losing, it looked disinterested. By the time his contract disputes and off-field controversies took center stage, his football legacy had shrunk. Ozil is remembered as a magician, but magicians are judged not only by their tricks, but by their ability to perform them when the crowd demands it most. His artistry was real, but so too was the inconsistency that prevents him from standing shoulder to shoulder with the very best midfielders of his era. Close to Ozil's story lies that of Eden Hazard, a player whose reputation burned bright before fading into ash at Real Madrid. Eden Hazard at Chelsea was unstoppable. Electric pace, dazzling dribbles, a low center of gravity that made defenders stumble as if they were skating on ice. He carried Chelsea through seasons almost single-handedly, producing solo goals that etched themselves into highlight reels forever. Pundits and fans proclaimed him as the heir to Messi and Ronaldo's throne, a player capable of ruling world football in the 2020s. Then came the transfer to Real Madrid, and with it, disaster. Injuries piled up, his fitness collapsed, and the spark that once terrified Premier League defenders was extinguished. In 4 years, Eden Hazard scarcely featured, scoring a handful of goals, never resembling the Dynamo Madrid paid over 100 million euros for. Yet even after his decline, discussions often crown him as one of the greatest wingers of the modern age. The reality is crueler. His peak was breathtaking, but it was fleeting. Where Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo sustained brilliance for a decade and more, Hazard's window of dominance was perhaps 4 years at best. His reputation rests on memory more than record, on highlight reels more than statistics, on what he could have been rather than what he ultimately became. Another name that commands discussion is Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., whose reputation is both colossal and contentious. Neymar arrived at Barcelona as a prodigy, a Brazilian wonder kid destined to carry the legacy of Pelé, Romario, and Ronaldinho. Alongside Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, he formed one of the greatest attacking trios football has ever seen. His flair is dribbling, his audacity to humiliate defenders with rainbow flicks and nutmegs, all made him a spectacle. His Champions League triumph in 2015, particularly his performance against Paris Saint-Germain in the famous comeback of 2017, seemed to confirm his trajectory toward the Ballon d'Or. Yet the years that followed in Paris twisted that story. Moving to PSG for a world record fee was supposed to make him the face of a new dynasty, but instead it tethered him to a league where weekly dominance meant little on the global stage. Injuries and theatrics, diving controversies and lifestyle choices overshadowed his brilliance. Neymar's numbers remain elite, his talent undeniable, but his reputation as a potential greatest in the world has withered. He remains celebrated, yet never ascended to the pantheon of Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. His career is one of immense success, but also of lingering disappointment, a reminder that raw ability and hype cannot alone secure immortality. Then there's Raheem Sterling, whose career encapsulates the paradox of modern football fandom. At Manchester City, Sterling scored goals in abundance, exploiting Pep Guardiola's system with pace, positioning, and relentlessness. His numbers were staggering, his contribution to multiple Premier League titles undeniable. But critics argued that Sterling's finishing was erratic, that he squandered as many chances as he scored, and that his brilliance was a product of Guardiola's machine rather than individual genius. At international tournaments with England, his reputation often took beatings, accused of disappearing when the stakes were highest. When he moved to Chelsea, those criticisms multiplied as his influence waned. Sterling is respected as an elite player of his generation, but the idea that he belonged in a conversation with Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, or even Eden Hazard at his peak stretches credibility. His legacy may ultimately be that of a very good player remembered more for the context of his teams than for personal greatness. The same conversation extends to Gareth Bale, who, at Tottenham Hotspur, transformed from left-back to world-beating winger. His pace was lightning, his left foot devastating, his ability to tear apart defenses undeniable. The transfer to Real Madrid for a world record fee brought immediate dividends. Goals in Champions League finals, including that unforgettable overhead kick against Liverpool. Bale won 5 Champions League titles, an achievement that should cement his status as one of the greatest. Yet the shadows loom large. Injuries, clashes with coaches, and a perceived lack of passion for the game earned him criticism. He was accused of caring more about golf and football, of hiding behind Cristiano Ronaldo's spotlight, of failing to sustain brilliance across full seasons. His highlight moments are immortal, but they are few compared to the years of absence and frustration. Gareth Bale will be remembered for spectacular peaks, but not for consistency, and that disparity has left many regarding him as more myth than reality. Finally, Mario Balotelli's story serves as both cautionary tale and enduring fascination. Balotelli was the enfant terrible of football, a striker of immense natural gifts who could score the audacious with ease. At Inter Milan, at Manchester City, at AC Milan, flashes of brilliance defined him. His assist for Sergio Aguero's famous title-winning goal remains iconic, yet his career is equally remembered for chaos. Training ground bust-ups, fireworks in bathrooms, endless controversies. Managers despaired, teammates shook their heads, and fans oscillated between adoration and exasperation. Balotelli never reached the heights his talent promised. His reputation as a top-tier striker lingers more out of what could have been than what was achieved. He remains one of the clearest examples of a player overrated not because of statistics, but because the allure of his personality and potential obscured the truth of his output. And so, from Pogba to Zlatan, from Benzema to Ozil, from Hazard to Neymar, from Sterling to Bale to Balotelli, the thread remains consistent. Football often elevates myth over record, perception over fact. Each of these players is celebrated. Each contributed unforgettable moments. Each inspired fans across the globe. Yet, when the lights dim and legacies are weighed on the scales of consistency, dominance, and impact at the highest levels, the verdict is less flattering. They are giants of narrative, icons of style, but not always kings of substance. And perhaps that is football's greatest irony, that sometimes the most overrated are also the most unforgettable, because in the end, the sport is not just about winning trophies, but about the stories we tell, the illusions we cherish, and the drama that keeps us watching. Which of these players do you think is the most overrated of all time? Do you believe their reputations were built on hype more than consistency? Drop your take in the comments and let the debate unfold. And if you want more honest football stories that cut through the myths, make sure you subscribe so you never miss out.